Шановні колеги, всім
Esteemed colleagues, good afternoon. UCMC is starting its work. The topic of the first press conference is presentation of the first analytical portal for verifying the statements of Ukrainian politicians. Factcheck.com.ua. Our guests are Yana Ibragimova, founder of the platform Factcheck.com.ua, founder of the School of Governance, Civil and Political School, Igor Korchovy, activist, Alexander Gorokhovsky, Mustafa Najem, and Sergei Leshchenko, MPs, representatives of the Interfaction Deputy Association, Euro-Optimist, and Grigol Megaloblishvili, former Prime Minister of Georgia, former Ambassador of Georgia to NATO, honored teacher of the National Defense University. Good afternoon, Yana. The floor is yours. Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the interest to the project Factcheck. Before we start the presentation, it's important to say how we got this idea to create such a project a year and a half ago, together with the head of the National Police of Ukraine, Khatya Dukemidze. We organized the School of Civil and Political School. Our students were the new leaders of the nation. All of them are coming to the school to find the successful experience of public administration and transformation. One of such instruments is Factcheck. This is the instrument to fight political manipulation, to fight distortion of information reality. Factcheck is a global trend. It's in existence in more than 30 countries of the world. Also, there's a global association of fact-checking, and they were helping us in launching this project in Ukraine. In general, the team of Georgian Factcheck was helping us in launching this project here. They were sharing their experience because they launched such a project in Georgia. What is Factcheck? It's not a political, it's an analytical resource, it's a portal, the activity of which is to check the whether what is said is true, and to find where lies are. The ideal fact check is not directed to having a politician as our enemy, and this is to create and develop political culture in the country. Before Igor Korchovy will tell what analytical instruments we're using and how Factcheck is working and what our plans are, I would like to give the floor to our friends Mustafa Najem and Sergei Leshchenko, who support us a lot. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. First of all, that's not the first presentation of the project. We presented it in the Verkhovna Rada. That is the place where the project had to be presented. Why it is important? I believe that what's happening in the country and the prospects that we have, the biggest threat is populism, deceiving people, and when the politicians are playing on emotions of people. The politicians are lying to people. They suggest the facts that do not correspond to the reality. Also, there is There are plenty of lies on the prospects of war, on foreign affairs, on the situation in the country. So we understand that the project that would be able to be objective, that would be able to diagnose what the politicians are saying is very important. I believe that in the future this will not be just the project that a group of people founded, but the project which will become a barometer. There are such projects in many countries of the world. This tradition was started in the US, where this is something absolutely normal. After all the debates at all TV channels, there's a fact-checking where the information provided by politicians is checked, and then people understand whether people really talk about what they think or they are lying, and they are playing with emotions. You know that the situation in the country is unstable, and what's happening in the parliament could lead to early parliamentary elections, and what was happening at parliamentary elections, at presidential elections, shows that even after people had Maidan, the project which is declared is absolutely populistic. People do not know what's the real information. They believe politicians, and the real results of voting do not correspond to the reality in which we live. And these are people who are not just manipulating these instincts of people who lie, they come to politics, and that is what experts, what journalists, what young people know. Yesterday we were in the East, and the mayor of one of the municipalities that represents one of the radical parties, during his presentation, the only person who was speaking in Ukrainian, he was talking about things which were basically lies. The person is in the local municipal council. The reality is one, and he is talking as if we are living in Monaco. If they had the resource to say that to say that this is a lie,
І я думаю, що це зрештою дійсно може.
then it would have been much easier for people and for politicians. So we do support this project, and I, as the representative of the group of Euro optimists, I again address our colleagues from fact-checking. People are saying they are supporting, but analyze us. Another reason why we get not very good results at the elections, that's incompetence. Sometimes young politicians are mistaken, sometimes they manipulate information, so please analyze young politicians as well. Optimists. There are also many reformers who are in the government, not just in the parliament, and I believe that in some time this will become a barometer. So please value your main resource, which is trust. If there's no trust, then neither this instrument nor those who support you will get some benefit of it. Thank you.
Good morning. When I was just invited, I've been hesitating whether to participate in it and in this event or not, because for me it was a question whether I should participate in an event which would present the facility that will check your competence, that would check your honesty, etc. Whether this might be interpreted as an attempt to get additional loyalty from this source. Actually, I came to conclusion that this won't prevent any unbiased and independent approach from this analytical source. In terms of check for my sayings from political, from economic point of view, from the reality point of view. So I think the main asset of this project is its impartiality. We strongly stand for the political responsibility of any politician for any statement which he or she makes in public. That's why we believe that impartiality and ability to check impartially the statements made by politicians will be the main value of this project. Many times I got into situations when I had to respond immediately in a situation when I definitely knew that people were manipulating with figures, with information, with some data, surveys, etc. And I believe that with modern technical means, when everything is registered and recorded, you can later analyze the statement and provide more sound, more correct information. With this, I would like to wish this project, to wish success to this project, and give the microphone to Mr. Igor Karchavy. Dear colleagues, thank you for coming to this presentation. I would like to say that our project belongs to the trend projects because it has been working in more than 30 countries in the world, where they do this fact check, where analysts monitor political rhetoric and verify the statements made by politicians. We are at the edge between politics and science, real data. Moreover, we are part of journalism because we publicize all our findings on our website in each article, which you can find on our website, where you can see the statement quoted, then the analysis of the data, and then the conclusion whether the statement was correct or not. So we have three key audiences. These are politicians, these are broad public, these are journalists. I would like to provide an example. In the USA during 2013-2014, journalists more than 200 times used the results, the findings of these fact-check projects. We actually will produce some pieces of content analysis which later might be used by other journalists. Also, we will compile ratings of politicians in respect of the biggest lie in their statements, in respect of the biggest populist position. And Unfortunately, in Ukraine, populism is a global trend. In the world, the populism is global trend. And in Ukraine, we have a lot of voters who are under strong influence of populism, as Mustafa Naya mentioned. And we will try to cope with this situation to present true information against the statements made by politicians. And I would like to give the floor to Grigol Galoblishvili, former Prime Minister of Georgia. Thank you very much for this opportunity to say that during this week I will deliver lectures in CAPS, this unique school which unites different people with, but all of them are united with huge potential. I've observed several flows of students in civil and political school, which represented the cream de la cream of Ukrainian young politicians, political elite. And this proved to me that the CAP school has established itself as a platform where people not just get new knowledge, but the venue where new ideas are generated, where new political elite of Ukraine is bred. And also I would like to emphasize one important thing about this project. In Georgia, we also have this project working where it was founded by Sergey, by Helen, and it has become an important tool, an important detector for populism, an important instrument against populism, which prevents the lie from spreading widely. I believe that this instrument will allow you to build up new political elite in Ukraine, which will be more honest, less populistic. And in this context, CAPS is also very important. Thank you.
I will add a few words. The idea of this project was developed in December 2015. We analyzed similar global resources. We analyzed how they work, how they present analytical information, how they are perceived by politicians and average citizens. Then we developed our editorial policy. You can see it on our website, the methodology, the verdicts, and our editorial policy. And our editor-in-chief, Sasha Grachovsky, will talk about editorial policy. I will talk about three main things of the concept. First is the structure. Every material of fact-checking has a very clear structure. The foundation of our research is a public statement of politician, of civil servant. Such a statement should have a fact or a thesis. We're not looking at the statements where there's the subjective opinion or just assessment given. These statements are collected in a special section which has a clear source where it was taken from. Then The next stage is preparation, and this is for the reader to make it easier to understand the information. The next block is evidence and argument. Here we give the materials collected by our experts, fact checkers, and they prove whether what the politicians talking about is true or not. We are using exclusively open sources of information, both Ukrainian and foreign. These sources are official. We're also using the information which Factcheck receives from the requests that we send to our partners. We do not use the opinion of expert. We do listen to the opinion of an expert, but we do not take it as an argument to avoid the accusation in incompetence. We just take statistical data only that is an open source. And our one more part is verdicts. In our work, we are using the international experience of fact-checking. The resource which is used in the verdicts have 5 to 7 positions. We were following that way, but having analyzed a certain volume of information, we came to the conclusion that the quality and the quantity of populism which is in these statements is so huge that the assessment should be stricter. So our verdicts are truth, semi-truth, and lie, so that anyone could see the volume of the depth of lie, so to say. If a person publicly states about something and the person holds certain position, then this person has competence and responsibility for what he or she states. If such a person is lying, then the person will receive the proper verdict. By verdict, we are not we are trying to teach our public figures so that they should be responsible for what they are saying. The third important thing is information which is generated by fact-checking based on the data that we receive from information, open information data. We generate ratings, graphics, infographics, and for that, to have it in open access, we have developed a gallery where we download all these materials so that they are publicly accessible. All these materials are open, and the experts and the journalists can use that in their work. We did it on purpose. We are open for joint projects, for joint actions, which are directed toward one thing: to reduce the volume of populism and lies. Thank you. I would also like to add, in fact, the prospects of Factcheck project are very big. We're planning to develop a national platform at the national and local level, where all volunteers, all fact-checkers will be able to verify everything. An example, in the US, PolitiFact is a global resource. It operates in all the states of the US. They organized an experiment. In 2 states, there were 2 senators, and they sent the information to one senator that Factcheck is monitoring him, and they did not send anything to the second one. Then, in the end, they could see that the senator who was informed that Factcheck will be monitoring him, the level of populism and the level of lies was much lower than with another senator who did not receive anything. So we are open to cooperate with everyone. Come to our website, follow us. Thank you, Igor. Thank you, colleagues. Maybe you have any questions, clarifications. You're welcome.
Илья Лукаш, political observer of Новое Время website. In Ukraine, we have similar resources like Slovo и Dilo. They do not analyze whether it's a lie or truth, but nevertheless, they analyze the statements. Yeah, Schuster Life, yeah, Vox Ukraine. How do you coordinate your work with them, and how you balance the results of your findings of your analysis with them? There was analysis of Nestor Shufrich, and there were a lot of comments about about his statements. That's easy to find. Lie in this line who's half dead, and to which politicians, up to which level do you analyze? We welcome all the resources which carry out fact-checking in Ukraine. In the United States, for example, there are three big fact-checkers, Polity.com, Fact-check, and PolitiFact. And when their analysts, their think tanks, studied the impact of politicians on society, they analyzed data of these three biggest fact-checkers. As for Ukraine, currently we have received now we have got an opportunity to visit the global summit of work checking in Argentina soon, and soon we will represent the results of our work in Ukraine. About the scale of your work. We have bigger analytical, deeper analytical materials, and check blitz, check quizzes. Deeper analytics is related to the most important topics like tariffs, like gas, etc. Quiz analytics is related to figures which are mentioned publicly, but which are of lesser importance for ordinary people and could be easily checked. As for the balance, we have a special matrix. When analysts start their work every day, they monitor the information space, bring together all the statements, and then we check all the mentioned topics in line with our matrix, how important this or that topic is for Ukraine, and then we analyze the statement made by politician irrespectively of the political force, political faction to which he or she belongs. If you look at our analysis, you will find out that we have statements about politicians from very different political forces. The only important aspect is the topic on which they made their statements. As for regional politicians, we have regional politicians in our plans, but at a later stage, when we will manage to bring together all main politicians from central level, will have separate database for them. Then we will launch our database about regional politicians. Since no further questions, there are no further questions. See you next time. Thank you. Sign up to our website.